So the ground, which we're going to break each one of these down, the path, and what comes of the path. So a moment ago, we just talked about causes and conditions, right? So what you're working with each practice could change. Like sometimes it's really the same. You have the same sort of bitchy shoulder thing you had last practice and so on. But it often is also changing. Like maybe you have that bitchy shoulder, but you also slept on it really funny and now it's a little even more cranky than normal, right? So your causes and conditions of which you're relating to in your own body or with your client's body are always changing. So you have to really assess like what's going on today. In the teaching I'm giving you this year, ground itself has multiple touch points. In this case, we're looking at ground in terms of, we might say environment, but I don't mean just the space you're in, environment. Relative reality as it is. And then letting that reality that's actually happening be the ground from which you work from. So I might think, I'm going to do a super hard workout because I want to, whatever, tone up my loose arms. Then I get up and my shoulder is really bitchy. My relative reality is that my shoulder needs limitations. I can't go kickboxing and punching things if my relative reality is a really fragile arm. So we have to really relate to what's actually happening. And how do you do that? Because what we're looking at is stuff inside our body. So that's why it's always good to have a teacher, right? Because you can't really, you can feel inside of yourself, which is really, really important. But we're all, we have somatic motor amnesia, which means we often don't know where we're not moving because we can't feel movement there. We don't know we're not moving there because it's not giving us information that we're moving improperly. So we just don't know we're doing it. That's why you need a teacher to always be watching you that has developed eyes. But also the relative reality requires this term that's fairly new, interoception. So interoception is a newer word to the last few years in meditation, in somatics, in occupational therapy particularly. Interoception is the ability to tune into your body and sense what's going on. One of the simplest ones is to sense your own heartbeat. Can you hear or feel your own heartbeat? When you can, you're using your interoceptive abilities to do that. So one of the problems is that our clients often don't even know they have something going on. They don't feel in their bodies yet. They don't really notice, like until you start moving them through space and then they're like, oh, that hurts. I don't know what's going on in there. So they don't have an ability to tune into their relative reality as it is very clearly. So you have to have really good eyes and awareness so that you could keep, Pilates puts people way out in space. So if they have something going on deep, like let's say in that deep line of the body, and it's limiting their movement, but they don't even notice it, and then they're trying to move through space anyway, then they're going to get hurt. So the ground actually is pointing to, maybe we could narrow this down to what is. What is today? That's the ground. Okay. So the path is then relating to what is, right? First we have to know what is, then we can figure out what the path is. So in terms of fundamentals, which is why we're bringing this back here to look at it this way. You as a teacher are watching somebody's relative movement reality. You're honing in on certain movement places to be your tells, For instance, the cervical, how the head moves on the spine is a big tell for movement dysfunction everywhere, right? The neck responds to just about everything. When a neck is malfunctioning, it may be in the neck, but actually maybe somewhere else. You have to look deeper. So you as the teacher are watching people's movement, using the fundamentals so you know what the ground is of their movement, even if they don't. And one of the other things that I try to do is wake up people's interoception into those areas. Now we could do that through somatic propping, like using the heated weighted props of Marie-José's or something like that. Could guide people into their internal spaces to sense feeling. Lots of people resist that. But our path as teachers then is to see the missing patterns, so we're going to watch for missing patterns. We're going to we've developed tools for helping teach the missing patterns. Once the missing pattern is understood in a movement sense, like you could see the cervical nods there, for instance, then it can be involved into a full body pattern. Just say a full pattern. These little bitchy movements, these little movement sequences, these fundamentals that are so important. If all you do is give them the little bitchy movement pattern, but you don't involve it in full body patterning, it's not going to take really. It needs to know where it needs to know itself separate from the chain of movement. Then it needs to know itself in relation to the chain of movement. And when that can happen, then you can have some fruition, which is, I hate judgment language. I'm going to say improved movement. I don't mean good movement versus bad movement. Well, we'll just say it, and then I'm going to erase this for right now. So what we're doing as teachers is we're looking for what is actually happening through the lens of how we view the moving body based on these fundamental patterns. And once we see what is, not just what is the movement pattern missing, but what is this person in front of me, and what are they able to like what are they able to take? I mean, you can have all the sophisticated exercises you like, but if the person can't uptake it, it's pointless, right? So your ground is watching the movement pattern that's missing, and also understanding that person well enough that you know what it is that they might be able to learn better than other things at that given time. Then so once you know what the ground is, then the path, like because you're learning to teach, right? That's why we're visiting this as teachers. Then the path is to create a session that helps them both develop the patterns they're missing, as well as put them all into practice, so that the next time they come in, they have a little better movement pattern and a little better movement pattern. So the fruition, so ground, path, and fruition. So